And yesterday, TMZ reported activity in a Bitcoin account connected to a ransom note.
The FBI says it is investigating multiple possible ransom notes demanding Bitcoin as part of the search for Nancy Guthrie.
Tied to that Bitcoin account related to those potentially ransom demands.
TMZ is saying that it's received a new note demanding 1 Bitcoin, which is about $68,000, in exchange for the name of the individual involved in Guthrie's disappearance. This is now the third note in the case, and the demands for Bitcoin payments are raising questions.
Bitcoin was invented.
Bitcoin.
They say the perfect crime doesn't exist because the human heart always leaves a trace. In the case of Nancy Guthrie, that wasn't just a poetic metaphor. It was a forensic blueprint. While her captors were meticulously busy blinding the high-definition security cameras, they overlooked one critical, silent variable. Nancy's own body was programmed to remember. While the world was distracted by frantic headlines and staged pleas for help, a biological diary was being written in binary code. This is a story of arrogance meeting technology. This is the definitive account of how a $152 digital breadcrumb and a silent medical implant tore the mask off a family's ultimate betrayal. By the time this video ends, you will understand why the Department of Justice is calling this the most technologically documented inside job in modern history. The disappearance of Nancy Guthrie from her estate in the Catalina foothills was far from a random act of opportunity. It was a calculated, cold-blooded tactical maneuver executed with military precision. To grasp the true gravity of Day 77, we must revisit the precise second the perimeter was compromised. On the morning of February 1st, 2026, the silence of the Arizona desert was shattered not by a sound, but by a digital handshake. At exactly 1:44 a.m., precisely 180 seconds before the residence was plunged into total darkness, a specific signal was transmitted. This wasn't a call originating from a burner phone in a foreign cartel hideout, or a dark web relay. Federal analysts utilized high-precision cell tower triangulation to pin this signal to a device located within the immediate GPS coordinates of Tomaso Keioni's vehicle. This was the execution trigger. It served as the final green light, a digital confirmation that the target was isolated, the house was vulnerable, and the path for extraction was clear. This level of synchronization is the undeniable signature of an insider. At 1:47 a.m., as the power lines were severed, a shrouded figure materialized on the doorbell camera's last frame. There was no hesitation, no fumbling. This individual navigated the property with the muscle memory of someone who had walked these halls for years during family dinners and holiday celebrations. They knew exactly which conduits to cut to blind the security system, without triggering the backup silent alarms. This wasn't a lucky break for an intruder. It was a professional strike facilitated by a traitor who knew every blind spot of the property. While the public looked for outside monsters, the forensic data was already screaming the name of Tomaso Keioni. But the most devastating evidence in this case wasn't stored on a hard drive or captured on a cloud server. It was embedded inside the body of Nancy Guthrie herself. Nancy lived with a state-of-the-art pacemaker, a device designed to sustain life, which unknowingly became the silent, unblinking witness to her own atrocity. As the kidnappers were busy neutralizing the external cameras, they completely forgot that Nancy's own heart was archiving their crimes. At precisely 1:47 a.m., the exact moment the cameras went dark, the pacemaker logged a massive physiological explosion. Nancy's heart rate didn't just rise, it accelerated into a state of extreme, sustained cardiac distress. This wasn't just a physical reaction to a sudden noise. This was the biological record of pure, unadulterated terror. The data reveals that the struggle inside the home lasted for 41 agonizing minutes. For nearly 3/4 of an hour, Nancy fought for her life within the sanctuary of her own home. The medical logs show a human body being pushed to its absolute physical and emotional limits. The device's synchronization finally stopped at 2:28 a.m. This is the exact moment the forensic record goes cold, as she was forced into a vehicle and driven away from the range of her home's monitoring station. This medical data provides a clinical timeline that no defense team can manipulate. It is an immutable, scientific record of the trauma inflicted on a mother by the very people who claim to love her. The question that has haunted this investigation for 77 days is, why? Why would Nancy Guthrie and Tomaso Keioni target their own matriarch? The answer is rooted in a crumbling financial empire. Behind the luxury facade and the social media posts of a high society lifestyle, Tomaso Keioni was a man drowning. He was trapped in a multimillion-dollar web of embezzlement and illegal shadow loans. In the weeks leading up to the abduction, the investigation confirmed that Nancy Guthrie had inadvertently overheard the clinical details of this massive fraud. She had become a terminal witness. She was the only person with the intimate access and the moral standing to dismantle their entire life of lies. For Annie and Tomaso, Nancy's existence had become a total liability. The kidnapping was a desperate, twofold solution. First, it would remove the only person who could testify against them in an upcoming federal financial crimes case. Second, it provided a $6 million payout from the Guthrie family trust to cover their debts. They didn't just want the money. They needed Nancy gone to ensure their fraud remained buried forever. The Keionis operated under the catastrophic delusion that Bitcoin offered them a digital fortress. By typing a 34-character wallet address into a ransom note, they believed they were invisible behind a borderless vacuum. They fundamentally misunderstood the radical transparency of the blockchain, a medium that remembers everything and forgets nothing. On February 11th, the FBI's cyber division executed a tactical dusting operation. They sent a microscopic transaction of exactly $152 to the ransom wallet. This wasn't just digital currency. It was a high-powered forensic bug planted in a ghost chip. Tomaso, driven by a combination of arrogance and financial desperation, took the bait. He attempted to move that $152 through a series of hop wallets to wash the trail, but military-grade software tracked the flow in real time. The ledger doesn't blink. The trail led directly to a centralized exchange terminal. Because of Know Your Customer (KYC) laws, that exchange was compelled to surrender the identity of the account holder. The FBI didn't find a cartel bus. They found a verified government ID and a biometric facial scan of Tomaso Keioni. That $152 transaction acted like a digital handcuff, bridging the gap between an anonymous extortion note and Tomaso's personal financial life. The very tool they intended to use to hide their crime became the instrument of their ultimate exposure. While Tomaso handled the physical and digital logistics, Nancy Guthrie played the role of the grieving daughter for 77 days. She pleaded for her mother's life on national television, wiping away staged tears. But forensic analysis of her digital footprint tells a much darker story. Annie wasn't a victim. She was the architect. She provided the inside intelligence required to make the abduction successful. She provided the security passwords, the medical schedules, and the specific times when the residence was most vulnerable. She was a full co-conspirator in the fraud that Nancy had discovered. The fake informant letters sent to media outlets like TMZ, claiming Nancy was in the Sonora Desert, were Annie's attempt to poison the evidentiary well. She wanted to point the FBI toward Mexico, while she and Tomaso waited for the Bitcoin payout. She sat at her family's table for 77 days, knowing exactly what happened, trading her mother's life to preserve her own luxury lifestyle. By day 77, the inside job is no longer a theory. It is a forensic fact. The FBI has built a cage out of 3 unbreakable layers of evidence. The physical layer, the 1:44 a.m. kill signal originating from Tomaso's GPS coordinates. The biological layer, the 41-minute heart rate log from Nancy's pacemaker recording her final terror. The digital layer, the $152 Bitcoin transaction that unmasked the Keionis verified identity. Every attempt to hide the fraud has only added more links to their digital chains. The Department of Justice is no longer waiting for a lucky break. They are finalizing an indictment that is legally bulletproof. The ledger remembers every cent, and the pacemaker records every heartbeat. The silence of the last 77 days wasn't an absence of activity. It was a demonstration of tactical patience. The FBI was letting the Keionis weave their own noose. Every informant letter and every digital hop was being harvested and added to a federal file that is now hundreds of pages thick. Tomaso, Keioni, and Nancy Guthrie believed they could hide behind a mask. They were wrong. The $152 mistake was the turning point that converted a string of letters into a verified name in a federal database. Justice is no longer coming. It is already here.